There's a reason we celebrate love as one of life's greatest gifts. The rush of anticipation, the warmth of shared laughter, the sense that everything sparkles a little brighter when that special someone is near. But what if this magic becomes a double-edged sword? When the flutter in your chest mutates into a pounding drum of restlessness, and every thought, every breath, seems tethered to another person's presence, something has shifted. What began as an innocent crush can tip into dangerous territory, where passion blurs into possessiveness and devotion morphs into a relentless pursuit that drowns out your own voice. Imagine waking each morning with a familiar ache, the need to know where they slept, who they spoke to, even what they ate for breakfast. Your world shrinks until their social media updates feel like lifelines, and their silence gnaws at your peace of mind. In these moments, love isn't just an emotion. It's become a force that controls you, the very thing meant to lift you. Up now weighs you down, as your identity fades behind the silhouette of someone else's shadow. This isn't merely a dramatic metaphor or the plot of a psychological thriller. It's a reality for many who've felt the intoxicating pull of obsessive love. In the following sections, we'll explore how infatuation can spiral into fixation, how admiration transforms into surveillance, and how the fingerprints of control eventually leave us questioning our own worth. But most importantly, we'll uncover the path back to ourselves, the steps that turn self-neglect into self-respect, and guide obsessive hearts toward genuine healing and freedom. Ready to confront the darker side of devotion? Let's embark on this journey together. 1. Stage at a time. At first glance, infatuation feels like stumbling into a sunlit meadow. Everything is bright, textured, and new. Your heart races when their name pops up on your screen. Even a fleeting memory of their laugh can send tiny electric thrills coursing through your veins. This early stage is painted in pastel hues of hope and warmth, where every shared glance or cryptic text feels like destiny whispering your name. You convince yourself that this person is the answer to a question you didn't know you were asking, and for a while, that belief feels intoxicatingly true. Yet behind the rosy glow of infatuation lies its own subtle trap, the tendency to elevate the mundane into the miraculous. A simple good morning text is no longer casual. It's proof of cosmic alignment. You replay your brief interactions in an endless loop, hunting for hidden meanings in their tone or timing. Sleep becomes secondary to the thrill of tomorrow's possible encounter, and the future you imagine together begins to eclipse the life you already have. What once was a gentle interest now pulses with urgency, as if your very survival depends on their attention. From the outside, infatuation seems harmless. Friends might tease you about your new obsession, but few can see the delicate pivot on which this magic teeters. It's still two people dancing in harmony, until that harmony amplifies every heartbeat, every glance, into a resonant chord that drowns out all other melodies. In this stage, the line between loving someone and losing yourself is drawn in chalk, easily blurred but impossible to ignore once you step too close. Signs: your drifting time disappears. Hours spent daydreaming feel like minutes, even at the cost of deadlines or plans. Emotional roller coaster. A single notification can send you soaring, while silence drags you into a trough of disappointment. Tunnel vision. Hobbies, friendships, and goals slip to the periphery as every thought centers on this budding connection. Recognizing these early tremors is crucial. Infatuation holds the promise of enchantment, but unchecked, its glow can blind you to the boundaries that keep love healthy. In the next section, we'll see how this bright spark can intensify into a consuming flame, and why that shift marks the true turning point between admiration and obsession. As the honeymoon haze begins to settle, something unexpected can happen. The spark of infatuation morphs into a relentless search for deeper connection, no matter the cost. In healthy relationships, this stage feels like growing intimacy, discovering quirks, sharing dreams, and building trust through reciprocal vulnerability. But for obsessive lovers, intensification triggers a tunnel vision so powerful it warps reality itself. Suddenly, every text scene mark feels like a promise. Every delayed reply, a silent rejection. You latch onto small signs, an extra or a slightly longer message, and inflate them into proof of mutual destiny. Meanwhile, any hesitation from the other side is chalked up to busy schedules. or momentary lapses, never a lack of interest. This selective filtering creates a personal feedback loop. You see only what feeds your hunger and ignore any data that contradicts your idealized narrative. Idealization reaches its zenith here. You assign mythic qualities to your object of desire. They're the only one who gets you, the single key to your happiness, the only antidote to your loneliness. In your mind, they're flawless. Even their mistakes seem charming. You rearrange your life to chase after fleeting glimpses, changing routines, skipping events, and scraping neglected to-do lists off the bottom of the priority pile. Every minute away from them feels like a moment wasted, and every glimpse, even from afar, renewably ignites the hope of something more. Telltale shifts in this stage. Selective perception. You notice every tiny sign of favor, but dismiss clear indicators of imbalance or disinterest. Schedule overhaul. Hobbies and obligations slide into the background as you rewrite your calendar around possible meetings. Social withdrawal. Friends and family raise eyebrows at how absorbed you've become, yet their concerns feel like unwanted interference. This intensification phase is the true fork in the road. Some will steady themselves, grounding their feelings in open communication and self-care. Others will accelerate further down the path to obsession. In the next chapter, we'll delve into the heart of that descent, where admiration curdles into paranoia and the need to possess someone eclipses all rational thought. Stay tuned. Obsession isn't merely wanting someone, it's believing you can't breathe without them. It begins with an almost physiological hunger. Your palms sweat if they don't reply. Your chest tightens if you can't see their name on your screen. You feel yourself tiptoe on the edge of panic, scanning social media profiles like a detective on a manhunt. Every online status becomes a verdict. Guilty of neglect? Innocent distraction? You convince yourself you have a right to know their every move because in your eyes, your emotional survival hinges on their transparency. In this claustrophobic state, empathy for yourself and for them evaporates. You start to monitor their friendships, interrogate their routines, and demand proof of loyalty. A harmless dinner with coworkers feels like a betrayal. A late-night call to a sibling rings alarm bells in your mind. Rational thought is no match. For the wildfire of doubt, jealousy claws through your sleep, and controlling tendencies plant seeds of resentment in your relationship. What once was admiration now feels like an iron cage, with you both trapped inside. The fallout echoes through every facet of life. Work or school performance plummets as your focus fractures. You're physically present but mentally elsewhere, replaying imagined scenarios of abandonment or betrayal. Anxiety becomes a constant companion, and depression lurks in the gaps between obsessive thoughts. Friends and family may stage an intervention, but their pleas sound like distant echoes against the roar of your fixated mind. You tell yourself you're acting out of love, yet what you're really doing is erasing the soft power of affection and replacing it with a brutal demand. Be mine on my terms, or you owe me an explanation. In this darkest chapter, it's easy to believe there's no turning back. That love, once hijacked by obsession, is doomed to destroy everything it touches. But awareness is the first crack in the prison wall. Recognizing these obsessive patterns, paranoia, control, self-abnegation, is the spark that can ignite a different kind of desire, the longing to reclaim your own heart. In the next section, we'll witness how unchecked obsession corrodes trust and connection, and explore the critical moment when you must choose between destruction and deliverance. At the apex of obsessive love, the relationship fractures under its own pressure. What once felt like an exhilarating bond now smothers both parties in a cloud of mistrust and exhaustion. Communication unravels into endless arguments over imagined slights. A missed text becomes evidence of betrayal. A friendly conversation with someone else sparks fierce jealousy. As control tactics escalate, insistent calls, surprise visits, covert monitoring, your partner's discomfort grows into resentment, and you interpret their boundaries as proof that they just don't care enough. In the wreckage of this obsession, healthy boundaries vanish. You might resort to emotional manipulation, guilt trips, silent treatments, dramatized crises to keep them close. In extreme cases, these tactics slide into outright abuse, threats, intimidation, or stalking behaviors that cross legal and moral lines. Even if you don't plan violence, the constant tension feels like living in a war zone. Every interaction becomes a battlefield where love is the trophy and peace is the casualty. The person you profess to adore can no longer breathe freely, and you start to feel the hollow ache of victory, a love that dominates but no longer uplifts. Yet destruction also sparks a critical choice point. When the pattern of control and retaliation repeats, you face a stark realization. Love shouldn't feel like constant conflict. Recognizing that the cycle is unsustainable is the first act of rebellion against obsession. It may mean stepping back, seeking outside support, or confronting the darkest parts of your own insecurities that fuel the need to possess. In doing so, you open the door to something radically different, a chance to break free from the battlefield and begin rebuilding a foundation of trust, both with yourself and with others. When obsession finally fractures its own foundations, something remarkable can emerge from the rubble, the possibility of rebirth. At this stage, you've witnessed how possessive love corrodes trust and erodes selfhood, but you also glimpse the first crack in that toxic mirror, the reality that true fulfillment can't come from another person alone. Acceptance doesn't arrive quietly. It often arrives with a rush of grief for what was lost and relief for what can now be reclaimed. In this phase, self-awareness becomes your compass. You pause long enough to mourn the version of yourself who believed you needed someone else's validation to feel whole. You recognize that the relentless "you're mine" mantra was never love's truest voice. It was a shout born of fear. By facing the insecurities that fueled your fixation, you learn to treat yourself with the same gentleness you once reserved exclusively for your partner. Journaling, therapy, or heartfelt conversations with trusted friends help you rewrite your inner narrative, from "I can't live without you" to "I am worthy of love that honors my boundaries." Healing is not linear. Some days, the old patterns whisper, urges to check their profiles, fantasies of "what if?" But each time you choose self-care over surveillance, you strengthen new neural pathways of self-respect. You replace stalking with self-reflection, control with curiosity, and jealousy with gratitude for the lessons learned and the person you're becoming. As you rebuild your life's structure around your values rather than another's whims, relationships you form feel lighter, freer, and more reciprocal. Ultimately, resolution means rediscovering your own heartbeat, independent of anyone else's rhythm. It means cultivating connections that uplift rather than enchain, and recognizing that the most enduring love story begins with the one you write for yourself.